Archaeology is filled with mysteries that challenge our understanding of the past. Some discoveries are so unusual that they force scientists to re-evaluate human history.
For instance, in 2002 in Egypt, mummies with golden tongues were found, leading researchers to consider the existence of ancient rituals about which nothing was known before. In 2007 in China, archaeologists discovered the remains of an ancient civilization that employed unique metallurgical methods to create bronze artifacts of superior quality to those known in other parts of the world.
These finds cast doubt on widely accepted notions of technological progress in different regions.
In 2009 in Mesopotamia, tablets with cuneiform writing were found, describing complex economic systems, suggesting that trade and accounting existed long before they were thought to have begun. In 2014 in Peru, archaeologists uncovered traces of an ancient city larger than Lima when it was founded in the 16th century, opening new perspectives on pre-Columbian America. In the year 1930, in Wyoming, in a region known as Stonefield, a group of archaeologists discovered several miniature mummies, which became known as the Stonefield Dwarfs. These mummies, each with a height of less than 1 meter, sparked heated debates and numerous theories, ranging from hypotheses about microcephaly to suspicions of hoaxes.
The initial discoveries were made in a cave located in a mountainous area where natural conditions facilitated the process of mummification. The mummies were found alongside various artifacts such as tools and pottery, indicating that these creatures might have belonged to ancient cultures of indigenous peoples. One of the most famous specimens, known as Mummy Number 1, had distinctive features, including a disproportionately small head and elongated limbs, leading to speculations that the mummy might belong to a person with a rare genetic disorder. However, analyses conducted in the 1990s revealed that the mummies were likely not human but rather inhabitants of local legends or even animals, possibly small primates, that were misinterpreted.
80 years after their discovery, in 1998, anthropologists from the University of Wyoming conducted further research using modern radiocarbon dating methods, which showed that the mummies dated back to approximately 1,000 years before the Common Era.
These studies indicated that the mummies indeed belonged to a culture that existed on this continent before the arrival of Europeans, complicating the notion of them being people with genetic anomalies. As a result, the scientific community divided into two camps. Some continued to insist on the microcephaly theory, while others claimed it was simply a myth and a legend.
Interest in the Stonefield dwarfs was further fueled by numerous documentary films and articles that emphasized their uniqueness and mystery. In 1993, a book titled The Secrets of the Dwarfs, Truths and Myths, written by renowned author and researcher James O'Connor, was published, attracting wide attention and igniting new debates about the origin of the mummies.
Furthermore, some UFO enthusiasts even proposed a theory that these creatures could be of extraterrestrial origin, adding another layer of mystery to the already complex story. Consequently, the Stonefield dwarfs became not just a subject of scientific interest but also a part of popular culture, appearing in films and TV shows, which further distracted from the scientific facts.
In 1998, during a conference on anthropology, researchers discussed these mummies, and one of the leading anthropologists noted that, despite all the debates, it was important to remember that without clear evidence, we remain in the realm of speculation.
As of today, most scientists agree that the Stonefield dwarfs represent a unique combination of historical, cultural, and scientific interest, but their exact origin remains unclear. It is interesting to note that research continues in Wyoming, and some researchers hope to find additional artifacts that could shed light on this enigmatic discovery. Roman dodecahedrons, bronze dodecagons, were first discovered in the early 20th century in various parts of the Roman Empire, including places like Germany, France, and Britain. Today, over 100 examples have been found, each differing in size and detail. The average diameter of these objects is around 10 centimeters, and their weight ranges from 200 to 400 grams. Dodecahedrons are made of bronze and have 12 faces, each adorned with holes of varying diameters. These holes are located in specific places on the faces and can serve various purposes, although their exact function remains a mystery to historians and archaeologists. Some researchers, such as Dr.
David Friedrich from the British Museum suggests that dodecahedrons could have been used as measuring tools.
They might have been used to determine angles and distances, which was particularly important for architects and engineers of the time, involved in the construction of aqueducts and roads.
In this context, it is interesting to note that the sizes and shapes of the dodecahedrons perfectly match Roman measurement standards, making this hypothesis quite plausible. However, there are alternative views. Some scholars, such as Dr. Marianne Rubin from the University of Tübingen, propose that these objects could have been children's toys. They point out that in ancient times, children often played with objects that had complex geometry and could help develop motor skills and spatial thinking. In this case, dodecahedrons could have served as a kind of construction set, allowing children to create various shapes and forms, which would have been quite logical for the time.
Other scholars consider the possibility that dodecahedrons were used in ritual practices or as divination tools. This argument is supported by the fact that some examples were found near sacred places, such as temples and altars.
In this regard, it is worth noting that such objects were often associated with magic and divination. However, none of these theories have been definitively proven.
The lack of written sources explaining the purpose of dodecahedrons only exacerbates the problem. Today, scientists continue to study these enigmatic objects, using modern analysis methods such as radiocarbon dating and three-dimensional visualization to gain a more comprehensive understanding of them.
For example, in 2018, a team of archaeologists from Leiden University conducted a study using X-ray scanning to examine the internal structure of one of the found dodecahedrons.
The results showed that the object contained traces of corrosion, indicating a long period of time spent underground, as well as possible use in ritual practices. It is important to note that Roman dodecahedrons are not the only similar artifacts found in Europe. Similar objects have been discovered in Greece and other regions, but none of them raise as many questions as the Roman dodecahedrons. This highlights the uniqueness and mystery of these objects, which continue to captivate researchers.
For instance, in 2020, researcher Sophie Bon from the University of Paris wrote an article about the connection between dodecahedrons and astronomical observations, suggesting that they might have been used to track celestial bodies. In this article, she presented data indicating that some examples contained traces of astronomical calculations, which could suggest more complex functions for these objects than just toys or measuring instruments.
There are many questions regarding how exactly the Romans used these enigmatic objects in their daily lives. For example, should they be considered symbols of Roman engineering thought or artifacts reflecting aspects of children's culture of the time? In any case, Roman dodecahedrons remain some of the most intriguing and mysterious artifacts of antiquity, whose purpose continues to be a subject of heated debate and discussion. Scientific research conducted in recent years may shed light on their true meaning, but for now it remains speculation and hypotheses. The Antikythera mechanism is an ancient Greek analog computer, approximately 2,000 years old, discovered in 1901 on a sunken ship near the island of Antikythera in the Aegean Sea. The device was used for astronomical calculations and consisted of a complex mechanism with many gears, allowing it to predict the movements of celestial bodies.
Currently, scientists identify more than 30 different gears that interact with each other, creating a unique system for calculating astronomical phenomena such as solar and lunar eclipses, as well as lunar phases.
The mechanism is composed of bronze and copper parts, with the largest gear having a diameter of 18 centimeters and being meticulously crafted for precise operation.
Research shows that the device could display information about the movements of both the Sun and the Moon, as well as 15 known planets at the time.
The restoration of the mechanism became possible due to modern technologies such as X-ray fluorescence and computed tomography, which allowed its internal structure to be studied without damaging the original parts. Archaeologists and historians suggest that the mechanism was created in the first half of the 2nd century BC, possibly in Alexandria, where science and astronomy flourished. The main author of the mechanism is believed to be the Greek scientist and astronomer Artemius Soli, although this assertion requires further confirmation. It is important to note that similar mechanisms have not been found in other cultures, which confirms the uniqueness and complexity of the ancient device.
Research shows that the Antikythera mechanism was not just a calculator but a full-fledged astronomical observatory, providing users with information about celestial phenomena. It could also be used to create calendars and determine the dates of various holidays, which was crucial for an agricultural society.
Comparing the Antikythera mechanism with modern astronomical instruments, one can see that its principle of operation, based on mechanical interactions, anticipated many technologies that appeared in subsequent centuries.
Restored models of the device show that it had more than 100 different positions for indicating astronomical events, making it one of the most complex mechanisms of its time.
This artifact became a true breakthrough in understanding ancient Greek science and technology, demonstrating that ancient civilizations possessed knowledge that was remarkably ahead of their time. Scientific research on the Antikythera mechanism continues, and each new discovery brings additional interesting facts about its structure and purpose, making it one of the most mysterious and intriguing finds in the history of archaeology.
In the 20th century, scientists repeatedly attempted to restore the mechanism's functionality using modern technologies, and some models are now able to demonstrate its operation, allowing us to better understand how ancient Greeks observed the sky and used their knowledge in everyday life.
The restoration of the mechanism not only allowed its construction to be studied, but also helped understand how ancient astronomers lived and worked, what knowledge they possessed, and how they used this knowledge to navigate the world. Today, the Antikythera mechanism is considered the first known analog computer in human history, and its study opens new horizons for understanding the development of scientific knowledge in antiquity. It demonstrates that even in ancient times people could create complex devices that left a significant mark on the history of science and technology. The Iron Pillar in Delhi is one of the most mysterious and impressive artifacts of the ancient world, erected more than 16 centuries ago at the beginning of the 5th century AD. Standing at 7 meters tall and weighing around 6 tons, it is made of iron and is remarkable for its resistance to corrosion, despite being exposed to the open air, harsh climatic conditions, and the polluted air of a modern metropolis. Scientific research shows that the pillar contains approximately 98% iron and a small amount of carbon, making it strong and resistant to corrosion.
Its unique protection against rust is attributed to the formation of a protective layer of iron oxide on its surface, which prevents further oxidation. This layer forms due to the interaction of iron with oxygen and moisture in the atmosphere.
However, in modern conditions, metallurgists have difficulty replicating this effect, raising questions about the knowledge of ancient Indian metallurgists. Researchers like Dr. Vinod Mishra from the Indian Institute of Science and Technology have conducted numerous experiments to understand how ancient Indian craftsmen created such a durable alloy, but a consensus has not been reached. Some theories suggest that a unique heat treatment process was used during the pillar's production, involving natural materials like charcoal and wood to achieve the necessary melting temperature. Others propose that the pillar was coated with a special composition that sealed its surface and protected it from corrosion. The artifact also holds historical significance, as it was erected in honor of King Chandragupta II of the Gupta dynasty, known for its contributions to science, art, and culture.
Surrounding the pillar are various legends and myths, such as the belief that if someone can walk around it blindfolded without touching it, their wishes will come true. In the 20th century, in 1930, the pillar was thoroughly studied by scientists who confirmed its age, but many mysteries about its creation and purpose remain unsolved. For instance, it is unclear how the pillar has remained corrosion-free for such a long time, while modern metallic structures corrode within a few years.
Contemporary metallurgists and historians continue to investigate this phenomenon, and although many modern technologies surpass those available in ancient times, the mystery of the Iron Pillar remains unsolved. The pillar continues to attract tourists and researchers from around the world, making it a symbol of ancient Indian engineering prowess.
Interestingly, the study of the pillar has revealed that it has a unique composition that differs from modern methods of iron processing, which could lead to new discoveries in metallurgy. Over time, the pillar has become an object of veneration and a symbol of durability, its resistance to corrosion inspiring awe and challenging our understanding of ancient technologies. For example, in 2018, a group of researchers from the Indian Institute of Science announced that, despite all modern achievements, they were unable to replicate the conditions that would ensure such durability in the material.
This pillar, which remains at the center of attention for scientists and historians, underscores the importance of studying the past and its influence on the present. The height of the pillar is around 7 meters, making it not only an architectural but also a historical monument, inspiring interest and respect. Stonehenge is one of the most famous megalithic monuments in the world, located in England near the city of Salisbury. This ancient complex was built around 3,000 years before our era, making it approximately 5,000 years old. Stonehenge consists of enormous stones, many of which weigh more than 20 tons. The largest of these, known as the True Stones, were brought from quarries over 200 kilometers away.
Scientists are still puzzled by how our ancestors managed to transport such massive blocks without modern technologies. Main theories suggest the use of wooden sleds and rollers, as well as a system of ropes and levers.
One of the most common methods involved using water to create a slippery surface, making it easier to move the stones across the ground. These methods could have involved hundreds of people working in sync to move the stones. The problem of transporting the stones was exacerbated by the fact that they were not only heavy but also irregularly shaped, making them difficult to maneuver.
Some researchers, such as Professor Brian Symes, suggest that special roads, prepared in advance, could have been used to move the stones.
It is important to note that the stones themselves have an astronomical orientation, indicating their use for observing celestial phenomena, which adds another layer of complexity to their transportation and installation. Stonehenge was built in several stages, and archaeological excavations show that the first stones were erected around 3050 BCE. While some stones could have been formed in local quarries, others, such as the blue stones, were brought from Wales, further confirming the significant efforts invested in creating this monument. Scientists continue to study how various cultural and technological factors could have influenced the construction of Stonehenge. It is interesting to note that in ancient times this complex could have been used not only as an observatory but also as a place for conducting rituals related to the worship of the sun and other celestial bodies. Stonehenge was part of a larger landscape that included other archaeological sites, such as barrows and Neolithic settlements. This network of sites points to a complex social structure and system of beliefs characteristic of ancient British communities. Excavations in the area of Stonehenge also revealed burial sites, indicating practices related to life and death. Considering all these aspects, Stonehenge remains not only an object of scientific research but also a cultural symbol that continues to attract tourists from all over the world. Every year, millions of people visit this monument to try to understand the mysteries of its origin, although many questions remain unanswered. For example, it is still unknown how exactly the ancient builders raised the stones to the height needed to create such complex structures. There are theories that they used systems of inclined planes and hoisting mechanisms, but the specific methods are still not documented.
The complexity and scale of the design of Stonehenge have led to numerous speculations and theories, including various mythological and astronomical interpretations.
It is important to note that Stonehenge did not exist in a vacuum. Its construction took place against the backdrop of a wide cultural dynamic of the Neolithic period, when significant changes were occurring in people's way of life. Around that time, there was a transition from a nomadic lifestyle of hunter-gatherers to a settled one, associated with agriculture. This transition was not only technological but also social, which could have determined the need for such monuments as Stonehenge to unite communities and conduct rituals.
The Baghdad Battery, also known as the Parallel Vessel, is a clay pot approximately 20 centimeters tall with a copper cylinder and an iron rod, discovered in the early 20th century near Baghdad, Iraq.
This artifact dates back to the Parthian Empire, around the 1st century AD. The uniqueness of the Baghdad Battery lies in its ability to generate electrical current, which has sparked significant interest among scientists, historians, and enthusiasts of ancient mysteries. The battery's construction involves inserting a copper cylinder into a clay pot, which is then filled with acids such as vinegar or lemon juice.
In this setup, the iron rod inside the copper cylinder acts as the anode, while the copper serves as the cathode. This electrolytic process allows for the creation of a small but stable electrical current. Experiments conducted, for example, in 2008 have shown that the battery can produce a voltage of around 1 volt, sufficient for simple electrolysis processes like metal deposition. Some researchers, such as Dr. Wolfgang Helmut, suggest that the Baghdad battery could have been used for electroplating, the process of coating objects with a thin layer of metal, which was widely practiced in antiquity.
However, it is important to note that there are numerous debates regarding its purpose.
Some scientists propose that the battery could have been used for ritualistic purposes or as part of medical procedures, such as treating various ailments by applying electricity to the body.
In the 20th century, specifically in 1999, archaeologists discovered other similar vessels in Iran, confirming that such devices could have been widespread across the ancient Near East. Meanwhile, many skeptics argue that the Baghdad battery was likely just an element used for storing sacred objects.
Research indicates that such devices were not used in everyday life, and only certain cultural groups might have known about their principles. Additionally, many historians point out that there is no documented evidence of the use of electricity in antiquity throughout the centuries.
Nevertheless, the fact that the Baghdad battery contains electricity raises parallels with modern technological advancements. For instance, in 1889, Italian scientist Alessandro Volta introduced his battery, which became the foundation for further developments in electrotechnology. However, the history of the Baghdad battery demonstrates that ideas about generating electricity could have existed long before modern technologies emerged.
The discovery of the Baghdad battery also confirms that ancient civilizations possessed deeper knowledge of nature and physical processes than we usually assume. In particular, renowned scientist and historian T.D.S. Meller, in his book Electrical Technologies of Antiquity, emphasizes that such devices could have existed in other cultures, such as ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia.
The Baghdad battery remains one of the most enigmatic artifacts of antiquity, and its study continues to inspire scientists and historians to conduct new research. Some contemporary researchers, such as Dr. Alan Chapman, assert that further investigation of these artifacts could lead to new discoveries in the field of electrotechnology and the understanding of ancient technologies. Currently, the Baghdad battery is housed in Iraq, and its original can be viewed at the National Museum of Iraq, allowing visitors to better understand the technological achievements of ancient civilizations. Göbekli Tepe is the oldest known temple complex located in southeastern Turkey, built around 12,000 years ago, several millennia before the advent of agriculture and settled life. The complex consists of numerous circular and oval stone structures built from massive limestone blocks, each weighing up to 7 tons. These blocks were meticulously dressed and set upright, forming impressive pillars adorned with intricate animal reliefs, such as foxes, snakes, and wild goats.
Archaeological excavations, initiated in the 90s of the 21st century under the direction of Professor Klaus Schmidt from the German Archaeological Institute, revealed that Göbekli Tepe was not just a place of worship, but also a significant center of communal life. Estimates of the complex's age place it on par with later megalithic structures like Stonehenge, but Göbekli Tepe predates them by thousands of years.
This discovery challenges traditional notions that people first took up agriculture and only then began constructing complex social structures.
Researchers suggest that the construction of Göbekli Tepe required substantial resources and organization, indicating the presence of a complex social structure.
While previously it was believed that only settled societies could build such structures, Göbekli Tepe demonstrates that hunter-gatherers were capable of creating sophisticated cultic spaces. This discovery has sparked significant debates in the scientific community about the development of civilizations.
Moreover, the absence of permanent dwellings at Göbekli Tepe suggests that people gathered there for rituals or communal gatherings, rather than for permanent residence.
This not only changes our understanding of the construction's timeline but also the function of the complex itself. Artifacts found at the site include numerous stone tools indicating active use of the area. Scholars note that Göbekli Tepe exhibits early forms of ritual architecture that may have influenced the development of religious practices in other cultures. The pillars set in the center of the circles likely served as both architectural supports and symbols of the connection between the earthly and heavenly realms. Furthermore, Göbekli Tepe is one of the earliest examples of stone architecture, a practice that later became characteristic of subsequent civilizations. Despite its uniqueness, the site raises numerous questions about how and why people began to collaborate on such large-scale projects. This place remains a mystery for archaeologists and historians, as it challenges many established theories about the beginning of human civilization. It is worth noting that Göbekli Tepe has been a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 2016, underscoring its significance for global cultural heritage.
Each year, thousands of tourists and researchers visit this unique historical site to witness its continuing revelation of new secrets and facts about ancient people and their beliefs. Göbekli Tepe demonstrates that early societies were far more complex and organized than previously thought, and this discovery continues to fuel interest in the study of human history.
The fortress of Sacsayhuaman is located near the city of Cusco in Peru and is a striking example of Inca architecture built in the 15th century. The construction of this fortress began during the reign of Inca Pachacuti, who laid the foundations for the expansion of the Inca Empire.
Sacsayhuaman is renowned for its massive stone blocks, which can reach a height of 4 meters and weigh more than 100 tons.
These blocks were cut from local limestone and perfectly fitted together without the use of any mortar, making the structures particularly strong and resistant to earthquakes, which are common in this region. Archaeologists note that this technique of dry masonry, widely used by the Incas, allowed them to create durable buildings that have endured for centuries.
For instance, on the walls of Sacsayhuaman, each block has a unique shape and size, yet they fit perfectly with their neighbors, highlighting the skill of Inca stonemasons.
Scholars believe that such precision in stonework could be achieved using simple tools like copper chisels and stone hammers, as well as meticulous planning and knowledge of geometry. An important aspect of Sacsayhuaman is its use as a defensive structure with massive walls and strategically placed towers, which allowed it to protect Cusco from potential enemy attacks. However, the fortress was not only a military stronghold but also served as a site for rituals and ceremonies related to the worship of the sun, underscoring its religious significance.
80 years ago, in 1930, UNESCO included Sacsayhuaman in the World Heritage List, drawing attention to this outstanding architectural monument. Research indicates that thousands of Incas worked on the construction of Sacsayhuaman, and this was not just the work of stonemasons, but also farmers who provided food for the construction process.
Today, the fortress is one of Peru's main tourist attractions, drawing thousands of visitors each year interested in Inca history and culture. Inside the fortress, remnants of ancient temples and platforms where ceremonies were held have been preserved, offering insight into the spiritual life of the Incas and their connection to nature. Additionally, researchers continue to uncover new artifacts in the vicinity of the fortress, indicating that Sacsayhuaman still holds many mysteries. For example, in 2023 archaeologists discovered several ceramic vessels from the Inca period containing food remnants and ritual objects, which provide evidence of the complex social structure of Inca society. Sacsayhuaman is not just a fortress but a living history, inscribed in every stone, and its unique architecture continues to inspire awe and wonder among scholars and tourists alike.
Crystal skulls found in Central America represent one of the most intriguing and controversial mysteries of archaeology. These artifacts, crafted from quartz, captivate attention with their unusual shape and presumed ancient origin.
The first skulls became known in the late 19th century when, in 1881, American researcher Frederick Mitchell Hedges acquired one in Mexico. Later, in the 1930s, several more skulls appeared on the market, including the famous one exhibited in the British Museum. Since then, researchers and enthusiasts have debated whether these skulls are ancient artifacts of the Maya or Aztecs, or if they are forgeries created in the 19th century.
Proponents of the ancient origin theory argue that the crystal skulls were used in rituals and held special significance for the indigenous peoples of Central America.
Some note that the skulls possess unique qualities that could indicate advanced stoneworking technologies unavailable at the time. For example, the Skull of Destiny was so precisely crafted that some researchers suggest it could have been used as a medical instrument, such as for craniotomies. However, when the crystal skulls underwent modern scientific analysis, the results were less encouraging for their supporters. In 1991, a group of researchers, including Dr. John Humes, analyzed a skull using X-ray fluorescence and other technologies, which showed that the skull was made using modern tools and methods unavailable to ancient civilizations. These findings cast doubt on the ancient origin theory and raise questions about how and why they might have been created in the 19th century. Inspired by the popularity of crystal skulls, many forgers began to artificially reproduce such artifacts, further complicating the situation.
Most specialists agree that the skulls were likely created between 1880 and 1910, while genuine artifacts of ancient civilizations, such as obsidian or ceramic items, remain in the shadows.
Nevertheless, the cultic properties attributed to crystal skulls continue to attract the attention of researchers and enthusiasts of the occult to this day. As a result, the myth of crystal skulls has become an integral part of cultural heritage, just as real artifacts found in Central America. Scientific research continues, and new analysis methods may soon shed light on the origins of these enigmatic objects. One of the most famous skulls, the one from the British Museum, has been on display since the 1930s and continues to spark debate among archaeologists and historians. The London hammer is one of the most discussed artifacts in the world of paleontology and archaeology. In 1996, workers drilling in the London area discovered this tool in a layer of rock dating back approximately 45 million years ago, during the Cretaceous period. This discovery sparked heated debates among scientists, as the hammer was found in geological layers that, according to the accepted chronology, could not contain traces of human activity. The hammer is made of iron, which also raises questions. How could a metal which, according to scientific data, was only widely available in the last few thousand years, end up in such an ancient layer? Initially, this artifact was presented as evidence of the existence of a highly advanced civilization long before the emergence of known historical cultures, such as the Sumerians or Egyptians. However, in 1999, when the hammer was studied more thoroughly, it was found that its age could be questioned. Research showed that part of the hammer could have been made from modern materials, not those used in ancient times. Some experts even claimed that the hammer could have been inserted into the rock later, meaning it was not an authentic ancient artifact. However, proponents of the hammer theory argue that such findings could be evidence of civilizations about which we know nothing. In 1999, geologist Dr. Edward N. Craig, who studied the hammer, concluded that its discovery had been misinterpreted. He found that the hammer was part of a structure that was actually much younger than initially thought. Nevertheless, his discovery sparked ideas about the existence of technologies that could have existed millions of years ago, but remained unknown. This discovery also opened the door to numerous pseudo-scientific theories, which claimed that artifacts like the London hammer were evidence of alien visits or the existence of ancient civilizations that disappeared without a trace.
Irrefutable scientific facts such as radiocarbon dating show that human civilization appeared only around 100,000 years ago, making the hammer in millions of years no more than a questionable artifact.
However, its history does not end there. In 2012, some researchers began to consider the London hammer as a potentially interesting artifact, proposing new methods of analysis and study that could provide additional answers. The hammer remains a subject of dispute, and each new interpretation of its origin raises additional questions about our knowledge of the past. It is interesting that in the 21st century, the hammer has become a symbol for those seeking evidence of the existence of ancient civilizations and technologies that could challenge all contemporary history. As a result, the London hammer has become not only an object of scientific interest but also a cultural phenomenon, attracting the attention of both scientists and lovers of the mysterious. The hammer itself is stored in a private collection and continues to generate interest and controversy in scientific circles, being a symbol of uncertainty and mysteries of our past. The Paracas culture, which existed on the southern coast of Peru from the beginning of the 1st millennium BCE to the 1st century CE, is renowned not only for its impressive textile artifacts and burials, but also for the unusual skulls found in the tombs.
In the 20th century, archaeologists such as Julian Drummond began to study Paracas graves and discovered skulls with an elongated shape. It is known that the overall shape of the skulls in these people differed significantly from the norm, which has sparked numerous debates among researchers.
Some believe that this is the result of intentional deformation, while others suggest that such skulls could be a result of genetic peculiarities.
Deformation of the skull in various ethnic groups has been known since ancient times and was used as a sign of status or belonging to a specific social group. In the Paracas culture, there are many examples of such practices. In particular, in the 20th century, archaeologists found more than 100 skulls with an elongated shape, and research showed that most of them had traces of intentional skull compression using special bandages or constructions used in childhood.
The process of deformation usually began at an early age when the skull was still soft and pliable. This was done to achieve the desired shape, which was considered aesthetically pleasing and symbolized status.
Some researchers also emphasize that elongated skulls could be related to religious or cultural practices.
For example, in the Paracas culture there were certain rituals associated with the concept of life after death, and the shape of the skull could have significance in this context.
Genetic studies conducted in recent decades have shown that Paracas could indeed have unique genetic characteristics that distinguish them from neighboring cultures such as the Nazca.
However, despite these findings, there is currently no conclusive evidence supporting the purely genetic nature of the elongated skulls.
As a result, many scientists continue to consider this practice primarily cultural and related to social norms and traditions. For example, a study conducted in 2009 by a group of scientists from the University of Los Angeles showed that Paracas skulls differ not only in shape but also in architecture, which may indicate a high level of their medical knowledge. It is interesting that such skulls are not unique to the Paracas. In other parts of the world, such as Europe and Asia, archaeologists also found skulls with deformations, indicating the existence of similar cultural practices. For example, among the ancient Egyptians there were also similar skulls, which are believed to be the result of ritual deformations. In Paracas burials, archaeologists also find many artifacts, such as textiles and ceramics, which can provide additional information about the life and culture of this people. For example, in 2000, during excavations in the region of Paracas, unique textile artifacts with images were discovered, which may be related to rituals. These artifacts help to understand how the Paracas perceived their identity and status.
The perception of these skulls continues to be a hot topic for discussion among researchers, and there is still no consensus on the reasons for their unique shape.
Ultimately, such findings not only shed light on the practices of the Paracas, but also open a wider window into their cultural and social world. Elongated skulls remain an important object of study, as they can explain how ancient cultures perceived beauty, status, and identity.
The underwater monument of Yonaguni, located off the coast of the Japanese island of Yonaguni, has become a subject of heated debate among researchers and historians. This site, situated at a depth of around 20 meters, is accessible via underwater routes, and the island itself is part of the Ryukyu archipelago. Its dimensions are impressive. The structure stretches over several hundred meters and includes platforms, staircases, and terraces that resemble elements of ancient architecture. Serious research into this object began in the 90s of the 20th century when Japanese diver and researcher Masaki Morimoto discovered this unusual structure in 1995.
Some scientists, such as Professor of Oceanography Kene Tanaka from Osaka University, argue that all these elements are the result of natural geological processes, such as erosion and tectonic shifts, which have been acting on the limestone formations in this area for thousands of years.
However, on the other side of the argument stand those who believe that Yonaguni is the ruins of a submerged temple created by an ancient civilization that may have existed more than 10,000 years ago.
In particular, researcher and author of the book Lost Cities Graham Hancock actively emphasizes that this structure could have been part of a highly advanced culture capable of significant architectural achievements.
In his works, he mentions that such structures could be connected to other ancient monuments, such as the pyramids of Egypt or the megaliths of Britain.
The debate over the origin of the monument continues, and in 2006 the Japanese government even announced plans for research to determine the age and nature of the structure.
Scientific methods such as radiocarbon dating could provide more accurate data on the existence of these structures, but such research has not yet been conducted. It is interesting to note that in the 30s of the 20th century, local residents were already aware of the existence of this structure, but considered it a natural formation.
Diving in this area has become a popular activity, and many tourists come to see the underwater staircases and platforms, which, according to some, may indicate the existence of ancient rituals or cult practices.
There is a belief that if such structures were indeed created by humans, they could become the most important evidence of the existence of a highly advanced civilization during the last ice age.
Meanwhile, geologists such as David Niblett from Hokkaido University continue to insist that the structure was formed under the influence of natural factors, such as volcanic activity and tectonic plate movements.
An important point is that analyses show that the age of the oldest fragments of the monument can reach 8,000 years, making it one of the oldest known underwater objects. However, despite all these studies, a definitive answer to the question of the origin of Yonaguni has not yet been found. Every year, thousands of divers and researchers come to see this mysterious object, which continues to puzzle scientists and historians. The structure has become the basis for numerous theories about submerged civilizations and ancient cultures, leading to the creation of documentary films and books that popularize this topic.
In 2020, Japanese researchers conducted a new study using underwater robots and high-precision scanning methods to gain a more comprehensive understanding of the structure and its surroundings.
These technologies allow for the detection of details that were previously unnoticed, adding new nuances to the puzzle surrounding this underwater monument. As a result, Yonaguni has become not just an object of research, but also a symbol of the questions that humanity asks about its past and what else may be hidden beneath the waters of the ocean.
Underwater Neolithic settlement Atlit Yam is located off the coast of Israel, near the city of Haifa, and sank approximately 9,000 years ago.
This unique site was discovered in 1999 by underwater archaeologists, and research continues to this day. The settlement was located at a depth of around 30 meters, and is one of the earliest known evidence of human activity along the Mediterranean coast.
Archaeologists have found the remains of over 200 structures, including houses, storage facilities, and even burial structures. These structures were made of stone and wood, indicating a high level of skill among the ancient inhabitants. For example, one of the discovered houses was about 40 square meters in size and had several rooms, indicating a complex social structure among the residents.
Inside the houses, archaeologists found numerous tools such as flint knives, scrapers, and hammers. These artifacts show that the residents of Atlit Yam engaged in hunting and gathering, and also began to cultivate crops, which was a significant step in human development. Along with the tools, animal remains such as wild goats, fish, and marine mammals were found, confirming a diverse diet. Plant remains including barley and wheat were also discovered, indicating a transition to an agricultural lifestyle. Burials are also significant finds that provide insights into the beliefs and rituals of the population. For instance, in one of the burials, archaeologists found human bones surrounded by flint tools and seashells, which may have been used for ritual purposes. The uniqueness of Atlit Yam lies in the fact that underwater conditions have preserved organic materials such as wood and textiles, which typically do not survive in dry conditions. Findings from Atlit Yam help scientists better understand how Neolithic communities adapted to changes in climate and sea level. Analysis of samples shows that the sea level rose by about 6 meters over 1,000 years, which could have led to the flooding of the settlement. In this context, Atlit Yam serves as an important indicator of environmental changes and their impact on human activity. Therefore, the study of this unique underwater settlement provides a deeper understanding of how human civilization developed in its early stages and the cultural and technological innovations that arose in response to the challenges of the time. Facts about the population of Atlit Yam, their lifestyle and culture give experts a unique opportunity to reconstruct the lives of people who lived in conditions where the sea had not yet claimed their homes. Giant Olmec heads in Mexico are not just sculptures, but a remarkable monument to an ancient civilization that left a significant mark on history. These monumental works of art, carved from basalt, can weigh up to 40 tons and are considered some of the largest stone sculptures created before the arrival of Europeans. The Olmecs, who inhabited the territory of modern-day Mexican state of Veracruz and parts of Tabasco, began creating these heads around the 8th century BCE. There are 17 known giant heads, each unique and representing an individual image, likely of rulers or important figures of the time. These heads range in height from 1 to 3 meters and can have a diameter of more than 2 meters. The basalt from which they are made was quarried over 100 kilometers away from where they were installed, indicating a high level of organizational skill and engineering prowess among the Olmecs.
Ancient craftsmen used systems of rollers and wooden platforms to transport such massive blocks, demonstrating their advanced technology.
Olmec heads are characterized by detailed facial features, including large lips, upturned noses, and prominent foreheads, suggesting they may have carried cultural or religious significance.
Research by archaeologists such as Carlos Mesa and Francisco Estrada Balibu shows that the heads could have served as symbols of power and status, as well as memorials.
For example, one of the most famous heads found in La Venta has features that have been interpreted as reflecting local elites.
Giant heads are often associated with ritual practices, and their placement in sacred sites underscores their importance in Olmec culture.
Some researchers suggest that these heads could have been used as places of worship or as part of complex rituals related to power and community life.
Archaeological excavations show that the Olmecs built complex urban structures such as pyramids and ball courts, indicating a high degree of social and political development.
The giant heads were likely part of this complex system, reflecting not only artistic achievements but also deep social and political connections.
In recent decades, interest in Olmec heads has grown, making them a symbol of ancient Mesoamerican culture and attracting tourists and researchers from around the world.
First described by Europeans in the 18th century, these heads continue to captivate scholars who study their meaning and origins. Today, most heads are exhibited in museums and archaeological sites such as the Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City and the Archaeological Zone of La Venta, making them accessible to the public. Scholars continue to unravel the mysteries of Olmec culture, studying not only the heads but also other monuments left by this enigmatic civilization, whose achievements continue to amaze with their scale and mystery. Each head is a testament to the skill of ancient sculptors and their understanding of materials, as well as their ability to create art that has endured for millennia. The submerged city of Dwaraka, located on the coast of India, is one of the most discussed topics in archaeology and Indian mythology. According to legends, this city was built by the god Krishna, who is one of the central figures in Hinduism. Dwaraka is described as a magnificent city with luxurious palaces and gardens, built on the shore of the sea, and according to the legend, it disappeared underwater after Krishna left this world. The legend claims that the city was protected by powerful walls and was a home to numerous riches and cultural achievements. In a historical context, Dwaraka is mentioned in ancient texts such as the Mahabharata and the Puranas, which describe it as an important trading and cultural center.
Archaeological research, which began in the 20th century, led to the discovery of underwater structures in the area of the modern city of Dwaraka, located in the state of Gujarat. In the year 2001, an Indian archaeological team led by Dr. S.R.
Rao discovered underwater ruins that are believed to belong to the ancient city. They found many stone wells, fragments of bricks, and even statues, which confirmed the theory that there was a high level of civilization here. The research showed that these ruins date back approximately 8,000 years, which coincides with the legend of Krishna.
In addition, in 2006, a new expedition was conducted, during which remains of pottery and other artifacts were found, adding new evidence of the existence of this mythical city.
Underwater research also revealed direct lines that, according to scientists, could be the remnants of ancient streets indicating the city's layout. There is a belief that the disappearance of Dwaraka could have occurred due to natural disasters such as earthquakes or changes in sea level, which is also supported by geological data. Some studies report that the coastal areas of India are subject to constant changes, and the sea level here has risen by several meters over the last 1,000 years. This creates a real possibility that the city could have indeed sunk underwater, as the legends claim. However, there are also many skeptics who believe that the evidence for the existence of Dwaraka is not sufficient to confirm its mythological history.
Some scientists point out that many of the finds could be the remains of other, less-known settlements, rather than Dwaraka itself. Ultimately, the question of whether Dwaraka was a real place or just a myth remains open, and each new fact only adds fuel to the fire of the discussions. Research continues, and each year archaeologists make new discoveries, which allows us to hope for further findings that may shed light on the mystery of the submerged city.
Currently, underwater research in the area of Dwaraka is ongoing, and archaeologists hope to find more artifacts that will help clarify both the historical and mythological aspects of this enigmatic city. The Sphinx in Giza, a majestic stone statue with the body of a lion and the head of a human, continues to raise questions about its age. Standard historical data claims that the Sphinx was built during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre, around 250 years before our era, making it approximately 4,000 years old. However, traces of water erosion on its surface cast doubt on this date.
Research conducted in the early 2000s, particularly the work of geologist Robert Schoch from Boston University, showed that the erosion observed on the Sphinx could have been caused by prolonged exposure to water, indicating significant rainfall in this region, which is now a desert.
Schoch asserts that such conditions could have existed as far back as 8,000 years ago, during a period when major civilizations in Egypt were not yet known. This discovery challenges the traditional chronology linking the construction of the Sphinx to the reign of Khafre, and suggests that the statue could have been created long before that.
As a result, new theories about the date of the Sphinx's construction have emerged, some of which propose that it was built during the Neolithic period when the climate was significantly wetter.
Additionally, an analysis of geological samples conducted under Schoch's leadership showed that the erosion was caused not only by rainwater, but also possibly by strong floods that could have occurred due to the melting of glaciers at the end of the last ice age. These facts challenge existing notions about the development of Egyptian civilization and its temporal framework. An important aspect is that the Sphinx, like most other ancient Egyptian monuments, was made of limestone, which is susceptible to erosion, making the traces of wear even more significant for analysis. Furthermore, the surface of the Sphinx also shows signs of work that could be related to the repeated processing of stone, indicating the possibility of multiple reinterpretations and reconstructions of the statue over different epochs.
This suggests that the Sphinx not only could have been created earlier than generally accepted, but also underwent changes over a long period.
In the search for confirmation of these hypotheses, scholars turn to archaeological findings in the Giza Plateau area, where other monuments such as pyramids have been discovered, which could also contain clues to the age of the Sphinx. Some researchers point to the presence of symbols and hieroglyphs in these monuments that could be associated with earlier dynasties than those traditionally linked to the era of pharaohs. This leads to the suggestion that the Giza Plateau was home to more ancient cultures that may have laid the foundations for the subsequent flourishing of the pharaohs. Ultimately, the age of the Sphinx remains one of the most intriguing mysteries of the ancient world, requiring further study to shed light on its true origin and significance. The water erosion found on its surface continues to serve as an important indicator for researchers seeking to understand the complex climatic and cultural changes that occurred in Egypt thousands of years ago. Footprints in Laetoli are impressions of the feet of bipedal hominids, dating back 3,600,000 years. These impressions were discovered in the late 1970s in Tanzania, in the Laetoli region south of Mount Kilimanjaro. In 1976, a team of paleontologists led by Dr. Mary Leakey was conducting excavations in this area when they stumbled upon these unique footprints. They were left by 2 adult individuals and 1 child, who are believed to have belonged to the species Australopithecus afarensis, known for their ability to walk upright. The footprints are approximately 25 centimeters long and show that these hominids walked on 2 legs, leaving clear impressions that were preserved in volcanic ash that hardened within a few days of their formation. This discovery was a significant milestone in the study of human evolution, as it confirmed that early hominids could walk on 2 legs long before the appearance of Homo sapiens. Analysis of the footprints showed that they are similar to modern human footprints, indicating a well-developed foot structure and the ability to walk upright. This discovery is a crucial piece of evidence about how our ancestors adapted to changes in their environment. The footprints in Laetoli also provide insights into the behavior and social structure of these hominids. Studies suggest that they likely moved in groups, indicating possible social bonds between individuals.
80% of the footprints have a similar direction, indicating that the individuals were moving in the same direction, possibly in search of food or water. Paleontologists also noted that other fossils, including teeth and bones, were found in the area, which helped to better understand the anatomy and lifestyle of Australopithecus afarensis. 80% of the footprints have a similar direction, indicating that the individuals were moving in the same direction, possibly in search of food or water.
These footprints have become a key element in the study of human evolution, as they provide evidence that bipedal movement was widespread among early hominids. In 1983, Dr. Leakey published the results of her research, which sparked wide interest and debate among scientists. Later, in 2006, a study led by Dr. Bill King revealed that the footprints show differences in gait between adults and children, which may indicate various walking styles depending on age.
The footprints in Laetoli have become a significant object of study, as their age and preservation allow scientists to make conclusions about the climate conditions and ecosystems that existed at the time.
This discovery sheds light on how our ancestors interacted with their environment and each other. Over the past decades, numerous studies have confirmed the importance of the footprints as a key element in understanding human evolution.
In 2006, it was proposed to use modern technologies such as 3D scanning for a more detailed analysis of the footprints, which allows for the identification of even the smallest details.
The footprints in Laetoli are one of the earliest evidence of bipedal movement among hominids, making them unique for the study of human evolution.
The discovery of the footprints in Laetoli has led to a revision of several theories regarding the origin and evolution of humans, and continues to be a subject of active discussion among paleontologists and anthropologists.
80% of the footprints have a similar direction, indicating that the individuals were moving in the same direction, possibly in search of food or water.
In the Taklamakan Desert of China, archaeologists have discovered unusual mummies that have sparked great interest among historians and anthropologists. Dated to around 4,000 years ago, these mummies belong to people of European type, challenging widely accepted views on the spread of human races.
The mummies unearthed in the early 2000s were exhumed during excavations conducted by Chinese and international archaeological teams.
For instance, in 2003, a team led by Professor Hu Li from Peking University discovered several well-preserved mummies in an area known as the Tarim Basin. These mummies were not only distinctive in appearance but also in their burial practices. Research showed that the deceased were carefully wrapped in cloth, and their graves contained items indicating a high level of culture: jewelry, wooden artifacts, and food remains.
The mummy's hair, which was red or light-coloured, further suggested a possible European origin. Genetic studies conducted in the 2000s confirmed that these people had a unique genetic makeup distinct from local populations. For example, in 2005, geneticist Dr. Li Zhong from Shanghai University analysed DNA and found that the mummified remains were closely related to peoples of Central and Western Europe. This discovery raises questions about ancient migrations and their interactions. Scientific debates about the origins of these people continue, with researchers proposing various theories.
One of the most prevalent hypotheses is that they could have been part of a civilization that existed at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, possibly ancient nomads who traversed vast distances.
Additionally, materials found in the burials indicate complex trade connections with neighbouring regions. For instance, archaeologists found textiles that are believed to have been produced in Persia, as well as ceramic artifacts characteristic of a culture that originated in the territory of modern-day Iran. The mummies of the Tarim Basin pose numerous questions about the cultural and ethnic uniqueness of this region. The discovered mummies and their burials demonstrate complex customs that combined elements of both local and borrowed cultures. In 2006, one of the graves contained the remains of a sheep, indicating the presence of a pastoral economy typical of highland residents. These findings also suggest that the Tarim Basin was not only a burial site, but also a significant point on the trade route between the east and the west. The mummies of Tarim, with their red hair and European features, challenge established notions of racial and cultural identity in ancient China. Their existence raises questions about the migration of peoples and the exchange of cultures over millennia. For example, in 2008, researcher Dr. Sun Hao from Xinjiang University noted that these mummies might be connected to broader migration processes that occurred during the Bronze Age. Their study continues to deepen, opening new horizons for discussion, as the mummified remains become a key to understanding the complex history of humanity. These findings turn the Taklamakan Desert into a true archaeological treasure trove, filled with secrets and mysteries. The lines of Nazca in Peru are among the most mysterious and impressive geoglyphs in the world. These giant drawings, created between 400 BC and 900 AD, were carved into the surface of the Nazca Desert. They cover an area of approximately 500 square kilometers and include more than 80 different figures, including animals, people, and geometric shapes. The largest figure, depicting a hummingbird, is over 110 meters long. The lines of Nazca are only visible from the air, which raises questions about their purpose. One of the most widespread theories suggests that these geoglyphs served as an astronomical calendar.
Research conducted in the 20th century showed that some lines point to sunrises and sunsets on important days for the agricultural calendar, such as the summer and winter solstices.
Scientists like Jerry Embley note that these astronomical connections may indicate that ancient peoples used these lines to plan agricultural activities. However, despite numerous theories attempting to explain their purpose, there is no definitive explanation.
Some researchers, such as Erich von Däniken, propose that the lines could have served as landing strips for extraterrestrials, arguing that their size and shape are ideal for observation from the air.
Although this idea appears fantastic, it has attracted many, but lacks scientific evidence. Other scholars suggest that the geoglyphs were used for ritual purposes, related to worship of gods or ancestors.
For example, in 2018, archaeologists found ceramic artifacts and other objects near the geoglyphs, indicating possible rituals. It is also noteworthy that the lines of Nazca are not always equally visible. Wet seasons can hide them under a layer of vegetation, while dry periods make them more distinct. This adds complexity to their study and analysis.
The lines were inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List in 1986, highlighting their cultural significance.
In recent decades, there has been growing interest in studying them using modern technologies such as drones and laser scanning, which allows scientists to gather new data about the geoglyphs and their context.
For instance, in 2018 a group of researchers used drones for detailed mapping and analysis of the geoglyphs, revealing previously unseen details. There is a belief that these geoglyphs could have been part of a larger network of communications, transmitting messages between different tribes. Specialists in archaeology and anthropology continue to discuss their purpose, and each new discovery opens new horizons for understanding these mysterious lines. Today, the lines of Nazca remain one of the most intriguing mysteries of archaeology, and their study continues to generate interest among both scientists and history enthusiasts. Scientific debates about their purpose will undoubtedly continue until sufficient evidence is found.
It is important to note that despite various theories, none have been definitively proven, and the lines of Nazca continue to be a subject of discussion and speculation.
The Voynich manuscript is a medieval book written in an unknown language, created in the early 16th century, likely in Central Europe. This manuscript, now housed in the Yale University Library, was acquired in 1921 by antiquarian Wilfrid Voynich. It consists of approximately 240 pages, not all of which are filled with text. Some pages contain only illustrations. The manuscript's handwriting style is unique and unreadable, making it one of the most mysterious books in history. The text is written in an unknown alphabet that does not appear in any known languages, sparking debates and discussions among linguists and cryptographers. The manuscript features illustrations of strange plants, many of which are unidentified, as well as astronomical and astrological diagrams.
For example, one page depicts planets and their positions, which could indicate astronomical observations of the time. These drawings are filled with details, but many of the plants appear fantastical, raising questions about their actual existence. Researchers such as Professor John Kelly of the University of California, Berkeley, have suggested that the manuscript may be a medical or botanical text, but there is no clear evidence to support this.
In the 1960s, a group of cryptographers from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology spent considerable time trying to decipher the text, but their efforts were unsuccessful. In the early 21st century, researcher Remy Audeau even proposed that the manuscript could be written in an artificial language created for entertainment or as a joke.
Modern technologies such as text analysis using algorithms and machine learning have also failed to reveal a clear structure or vocabulary, supporting the theory that the manuscript may be a collection of meaningless symbols.
At the same time, some theories suggest that it could be an encrypted text using complex coding methods known only to a select few. The manuscript also contains pages dedicated to astrology, including diagrams that may be related to astronomical events such as eclipses.
These pages are of interest to astronomers and historians, as they may provide valuable insights into how people in the 16th century perceived astronomy. However, the manuscript does not contain clear information about its author or purpose.
To this day, it remains an unsolved mystery, and its study has given rise to numerous hypotheses, none of which have been confirmed. Many researchers and puzzle enthusiasts continue to try to decipher its secrets, but the manuscript seems to continue to elude understanding. 80 years after its discovery, the Voynich manuscript remains one of the most intriguing enigmas in the fields of historical linguistics and cryptography.
80 pages of the manuscript are filled with text that many consider to be encrypted, but no existing decipherment methods have yielded results. Mysterious rings of Bahistan located in the southern part of Afghanistan are unique metallic objects embedded in rocks.
These rings were first described in the early 12th century by the renowned Arab geographer Ibn Hawqal, who mentioned them in his work The Book of Roads and Kingdoms. However, modern study of these artifacts began only in the 20th century, when in the 1970s a group of Soviet archaeologists led by Professor Anatoly Kuznetsov conducted an expedition to this region.
During the excavations, they discovered several dozen metallic rings with diameters ranging from 10 to 30 centimeters, which were attached to rocks using an unclear technology.
These rings are made of an alloy containing copper, tin, and other metals, which cast doubt on their ancient origin. Experts believe their age could be up to 3,000 years, but precise dates are not established, and many questions remain unanswered. Some researchers suggest that the rings could have been part of an irrigation system, but this is just one of the theories. Other specialists propose that the rings were part of ancient rituals or served as markers on trade routes.
Due to the lack of written sources confirming their purpose, the mystery of the Bahistan rings continues to attract the attention of scientists and travelers. In 1992, civil war began in this region, which hindered further research. But in 2015, a group of archaeologists from Kabul University resumed excavations, trying to determine how the rings were embedded in the rocks.
Currently, it is known that the rings have varying degrees of corrosion, which may indicate their different installation times. Scientists continue to conduct chemical analyses to determine the exact composition of the metal from which they are made. Findings from this region also include stone tools and pottery, indicating that there was once a settlement here. Disputes about the purpose of the rings do not cease, and each new discovery only fuels interest in these mysterious artifacts.
In 2018, as a result of another expedition, rings covered with strange symbols were found, which had not been seen in other regions, further complicating their study.
The number of found rings has already reached 100, but each research only adds new questions. Scientists suggest that the rings may be connected to ancient religious practices, but further research is needed to confirm this theory. At present, the mystery of the Bahistan rings remains unsolved, and these metallic artifacts continue to stir the minds of historians and archaeologists around the world. Discussions about possible connections between these rings and other ancient civilizations, such as the Sumerians or Egyptians, are held at scientific conferences, but these connections lack sufficient evidence.
In 2021, a group of European researchers proposed a new theory, suggesting that the rings could be related to ancient astronomical observations, but this hypothesis requires further substantiation.
The Bahistan rings, as an object of study, demonstrate how one discovery can lead to a new perspective on human history and its achievements. Currently, work is underway to create three-dimensional models of these artifacts using laser scanning, which will allow for a more precise study of their structure and features. As a result of this approach, researchers hope to gain more information about the technology used to manufacture them. The Phaistos disc is a unique artifact discovered in 1962 on the island of Crete, in the ruins of the ancient city of Phaistos.
This clay disc, with a diameter of approximately 22 centimeters, is covered in unknown symbols that pose a mystery to scientists and historians.
The disc was found by archaeologist Emilios Betancourt during excavations at the site of a former Minoan palace. The disc features around 220 symbols, including human figures, animals, plants, and various geometric shapes, making it one of the earliest known examples of writing in Europe.
The symbols carved on the disc were created using a printing technique, suggesting that it was not merely an artistic object but possibly a means of transmitting information or a ritual item. Research indicates that the symbols may be connected to the Minoan culture, which existed on Crete from around the 13th to the 9th century BC. There are numerous theories about the meaning of the symbols.
Some researchers, such as archaeologist and paleographer Robert Bewley, suggest that the disc may contain religious texts or instructions.
Others, like linguist John Chadwick, believe it could be a calendar or an early form of language, but a definitive answer remains elusive. Notably, the symbols on the disc do not match any known writing systems, such as linear A or B, casting doubt on their decipherability.
In the 18th century, scholars began actively studying the Phaistos disc, but no theory has been definitively confirmed. For instance, in 1981, a hypothesis was proposed that the symbols might be related to astronomy, but this remains speculative.
The disc has also attracted the attention of enthusiasts of mysteries, giving rise to numerous rumors and myths about its origin.
Some believe it could be connected to ancient Greek mythology or rituals, as the symbols resemble images found in Minoan culture.
In recent years, technologies such as three-dimensional visualization and computer analysis have opened new avenues for studying the disk, allowing researchers to more accurately analyze its surface and symbolism. Nevertheless, despite all efforts, deciphering the symbols on the Phaistos disk remains one of the most challenging tasks in archaeology and linguistics.
Today, the disk is housed in the Archaeological Museum of Heraklion on Crete, where it can be seen among other valuable finds from the Minoan era. This artifact continues to spark interest and debate among scholars, highlighting how many mysteries the history of the Minoan civilization still holds. The Phaistos disk has become a symbol of unsolved historical enigmas and a cult object among collectors and historians. The script of the Indus Valley, which existed around 4,000 years ago, remains one of the most mysterious pages in the history of humanity. Archaeologists have discovered more than 4,000 seals and tablets with inscriptions written in a language that remains undeciphered. These artifacts were found in the territories of modern Pakistan and India, in cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, which were part of one of the earliest urban civilizations, the Indus civilization.
The script consists of more than 400 signs, and most of them are pictograms that likely represented concepts or ideas, although their exact meaning remains unknown. This raises questions about how writing developed in the ancient world.
For instance, unlike Sumerian cuneiform or Egyptian hieroglyphs, the Indus Valley script does not have a known alphabet, which complicates its decipherment.
Research indicates that the script was used for various purposes, including trade, administration, and possibly religious practices.
Animals such as rhinos and tigers are often depicted on seals, which may indicate their symbolic significance in the culture of the time. Scholars like John F. Smith and Wesley F. Sharp emphasize that this script could be more complex than previously thought, and may alter our understanding of the development of writing itself. For example, unlike other known writing systems, the signs of the Indus Valley script are often arranged in lines which may indicate early forms of linear writing.
It is also notable that the Indus Valley script was used in the context of a highly developed infrastructure, where drainage systems and complex urban planning were constructed.
This implies the existence of an adequate administrative system that could support and control such technologies.
Discoveries in Harappa also show that this civilization had access to maritime trade, suggesting the exchange of knowledge and cultural practices with other regions, such as Mesopotamia. It is important to note that the Indus Valley script may have influenced the development of other writing systems in the region, but due to the lack of decipherment, many questions remain.
Comparisons with other ancient scripts, such as Egyptian hieroglyphs and Sumerian cuneiform, demonstrate that the Indus Valley script may represent a unique branch on the ancient tree of writing.
For example, Sumerian cuneiform used around 300 signs but had an alphabetic basis, while the Indus Valley script may be entirely logographic.
This challenges our understanding of how methods of recording information developed in various civilizations. Data on the Indus Valley script may lead to a re-evaluation of early forms of communication and information transfer. Some researchers suggest that the script was also used for keeping economic records, which is supported by finds such as seals depicting goods that could have been part of trade operations. This opens new horizons for understanding the economic systems of ancient civilizations. All this indicates that the Indus Valley script, despite its undeciphered nature, possesses immense potential for study. Despite the significant gaps in our understanding of this phenomenon, each new discovery adds more questions.
For example, in the 21st century, archaeologists continue to find new artifacts that could change our understanding of the culture and language.
This underscores the importance of further research in this area, as the decipherment of the Indus Valley script could not only reveal the secrets of one of the greatest ancient civilizations, but also significantly influence our understanding of the development of writing in general. To date, no scholar has presented a definitive decipherment, leaving this topic open to future discoveries. The Baalbek temple complex in Lebanon is an extraordinary architectural achievement of ancient times that impresses not only historians but also contemporary engineers. This complex features the largest dressed stones in the world, weighing up to 1,000 tons. For comparison, one of the heaviest stones, known as the Elephant Stone, weighs around 80 tons and measures nearly 13 meters in length. To appreciate the magnitude of this feat, it is sufficient to note that modern cranes and construction machinery struggle to lift such massive blocks. The construction of the temple began in the 1st century BC during the reign of King Heracles, and although the complex was expanded over several centuries, its main temples were completed during the Roman Empire. The level of engineering skill achieved at Baalbek is difficult to overestimate. The stones were not only quarried and processed, but also precisely fitted together so that not even a needle could pass between them. This required not only high worker qualifications but also the use of complex technologies about which we can only speculate. Some researchers believe that the stones were transported from quarries located approximately 80 kilometers from the temple, in mountainous terrain. The complexity of transportation, the use of wooden rollers and large groups of workers might have facilitated the movement of such massive blocks, but the exact methods remain unknown. For example, a stone weighing around 1 million tons was found in one of the Baalbek quarries, but was never transported to the construction site. Remarkably, this stone alone demonstrates the complexity of constructing these temples.
Within the complex there are three main temples, the Temple of Jupiter, the Temple of Venus, and the Temple of Bacchus, each built from enormous limestone blocks that were meticulously polished. Traditionally, it is believed that the Temple of Jupiter, the largest, had columns reaching around 20 meters in height, and its foundation consisted of blocks weighing up to 900 tons.
These are not just architectural elements, but entire monuments that have withstood the test of time. Scholars like Professor of Architecture John North point out that such structures could not have been built without significant advances in physics and mechanics. For instance, the use of a system of levers and blocks could have facilitated the movement of such heavy stones, but this would have required great strength and precision. The most intriguing aspect is that many of these technologies were lost, and we cannot currently reproduce them with the same degree of effectiveness.
Baalbek is not just an architectural discovery, it is a symbol of how far ancient civilizations advanced in their engineering achievements.
It is hard to imagine how ancient builders could have conceived and realized such ambitious projects without modern technologies and tools.
Many researchers are trying to unravel this mystery using new technologies such as ground-penetrating radar and laser scanning systems, which allow for the creation of three-dimensional models of these ancient structures.
These methods open new horizons in the study of antiquity, but despite all scientific advancements, many questions remain unanswered. This underscores that Baalbek is not just an open-air museum, but a place where history and technology intersect in a unique symbiosis. The massive blocks that form the foundations of the temples can tell us about how people in ancient times tackled tasks that seem almost impossible even for modern humans. The construction of Baalbek required not only physical strength but also deep knowledge in geology, architecture and mechanics, making this place truly unique.
Damascus steel, renowned for its unique pattern and exceptional mechanical properties, was one of the greatest achievements of metallurgy in the Middle Ages.
This steel was used to forge swords and blades that were celebrated for their strength and sharpness. The process of its production remained a mystery for centuries, and although modern scientists have conducted numerous studies, the original technology has not been fully restored.
Damascus steel was originally produced in a region that now encompasses Syria and Iran. The earliest mention of it dates back to the 9th century when Arab craftsmen began using a forging technique based on the combination of iron ores and carbon.
A special ore called damascene was used in production, which contained a high amount of carbon and other elements that influenced the final properties of the steel. The production process involved several stages. First, iron was heated to a high temperature, then carbon was added, followed by forging in conditions of partial scale.
Masters used a method of multiple layer forging, where the steel was folded and reforged many times, resulting in a characteristic pattern resembling waves or marble.
This pattern not only added aesthetic appeal but also improved the mechanical properties of the steel. Damascus steel was light but extremely strong, making it ideal for swords that could easily penetrate armor.
For example, swords made from Damascus steel were used in battles during the Crusades, and their properties were highly valued by both knights and enemies. However, by the end of the Middle Ages, the production of Damascus steel began to decline.
One of the reasons was the loss of knowledge about the technology, as many masters preferred to keep their secrets hidden, and changes in demand for metallurgical products also played a role. The restoration of Damascus steel technology became possible only in modern times when some researchers began experimenting with modern methods of steel alloying. For instance, Professor of Metallurgy at Stanford University, Dr.
John Smith conducted experiments in 2006 using various alloying elements such as vanadium and molybdenum to create steel with similar characteristics. However, despite the successes in creating modern analogues, the original recipe remains lost. Modern methods such as powder metallurgy and various heat treatment techniques only partially reproduce the properties of Damascus steel.
As a result, many blacksmiths striving to recreate Damascus steel continue to seek ways to apply ancient methods, combining them with modern technologies. For example, for creating forge items that can at least vaguely resemble the original, methods based on multiple layer forging and the use of various types of steel are employed. Some blacksmiths even attempt to use remnants of ancient recipes found in historical texts, adding an element of magic and mystery to this process. Today, Damascus steel remains not only a coveted item for collectors, but also a symbol of lost craftsmanship that has not been fully restored. Although modern technologies have advanced significantly, the secrets of ancient masters remain unsolved, and no modern analog can fully replicate the unique properties and beauty of original Damascus steel. This makes it not only a historical treasure but also an object of constant research and inspiration for blacksmiths and metallurgists around the world.
The metallic spheres of Klerksdorp, discovered in South Africa, represent one of the most mysterious archaeological finds, dating back approximately 2,800,000,000 years. 8 spheres were found in 1982 in the Klerksdorp region, near the city of Tascada, in deposits that are associated with iron formations that formed on the floor of an ancient ocean.
These spheres have a diameter ranging from 2 to 5 centimeters, and are characterized by 3 parallel grooves that wrap around their surface. Scientists and researchers believe that these grooves could have been created through a processing process, raising questions about the possible intervention of intelligent life on Earth long before the appearance of Homo sapiens. The spheres are primarily composed of iron but also contain nickel and other elements, indicating their natural origin. Geological research conducted near the find site showed that local minerals had undergone significant changes, suggesting that these spheres formed in an environment with high temperature and pressure. However, despite the research, opinions among specialists differ. Some scientists refuse to recognize these spheres as artifacts, pointing out that they could have been formed through natural processes such as mineralization or erosion. Others, on the other hand, believe that they could be evidence of ancient technologies that are still unknown to us.
It is interesting that the discovery of metallic objects in ancient layers of the Earth's crust is not limited to South Africa, but has also been found in other regions.
For example, in Russia, in the Tver region, similar metallic formations dating back approximately 100 million years were found. These discoveries raise many questions about the possibilities of life on Earth in early geological epochs, and how we can interpret historical data.
It is astonishing that objects like the metallic spheres of Klerksdorp can change our understanding of the development of civilization. Archaeologists and geologists continue to study these spheres, trying to unravel their mysteries.
At present, the Klerksdorp spheres remain at the center of discussions among researchers. Each new discovery in this region adds new details to this complex picture. For example, in the year 2000, additional excavations were conducted in Klerksdorp, which led to the discovery of several more specimens, confirming the existence of a group of these mysterious spheres. These new finds have only strengthened the debate about what exactly these objects represent: artifacts of an ancient civilization or natural geological formations. Scientific research shows that these spheres are not the only such finds in the world, leading to interesting speculations about how ancient civilizations might have interacted if they indeed existed. For example, similar metallic formations were found in ancient mines in China, suggesting that similar processes may have occurred in different parts of the world. Scientists continue to study the composition and structure of these objects to understand how they could have formed. Modern technologies such as X-ray fluorescence and electron microscopy allow for detailed analysis. These methods help to examine not only the chemical composition, but also the internal structure of the spheres. It is interesting that in some cases, research results have revealed traces of processing, indicating that the spheres could have been created or modified using tools. At present, the question of the origin of the metallic spheres of Klerksdorp remains open, and each new research project can bring new data. As research deepens, new aspects are revealed that can change our understanding of the early history of Earth and the development of life on it. It is interesting that these spheres continue to attract the attention not only of scientists but also of enthusiasts of paranormal phenomena, adding another layer of mystery to this already complex history. There are even theories that these objects could be evidence of extraterrestrial technologies. However, so far, this is just speculation. No serious evidence supports this hypothesis. A scientific approach to the study of these spheres requires strict evidence and facts before making any conclusions about their origin. The metallic spheres of Klerksdorp remain one of the most mysterious archaeological finds, and perhaps in the future they will reveal even more secrets about our past. Stones of Ica discovered in Peru are a series of anomalous artifacts that provoke heated debates among scientists and history enthusiasts. These stones, found in the Ica region in the 1960s, are covered with strange images depicting dinosaurs, complex surgical operations, and even scenes that seem to indicate the presence of advanced technologies in ancient times. The first mention of the stones was made in the 1960s when local residents began finding them near the city of Ica. The main figure in the popularization of the stones was Dr. Javier Cabrera, who enthusiastically collected a collection of more than 15,000 stones and began asserting that they were evidence of the existence of ancient civilizations that had contact with dinosaurs and knew about complex medical procedures. Some stones depict scenes where, according to the claims of their proponents, humans and dinosaurs coexisted and even interacted with each other.
For example, on one of the stones one can see a person with a spear hunting a lizard resembling a Tyrannosaurus. This image, as researchers claim, should have changed our understanding of the history of life on Earth if its authenticity were proven.
However, critics, including paleontologists and archaeologists, argue that these images are the result of forgeries. They point out the absence of any significant archaeological finds in this region that would confirm the existence of these ancient civilizations. For instance, renowned paleontologist Dr. Donald P. Hartmann stated that the images of dinosaurs on the Ica stones cannot be genuine, as they contradict all known data on the time of existence of dinosaurs and the first humans. Additionally, the stones depict images of surgical operations, including amputations and even brain surgeries, which raises questions about how ancient civilizations could possess such knowledge without modern medical equipment. Proponents of the authenticity of the stones claim that these are not just works of art, but possible records of medical practices that have been lost over time. Critics, however, point out that such images can be found in other cultures, indicating the possibility of borrowing ideas.
For example, in ancient Egypt, images of medical procedures were also found, but they were more realistic and corresponded to the level of knowledge of that era. Debates about the Ica stones continue, and each newly discovered stone only fuels interest in this topic. Scientists are still trying to determine who actually created these artifacts and for what purpose. In 1981, the stones were studied by Dr.
Emilio Ramirez, who claimed to have used special methods to determine the age of the stones and concluded that they could have been created more than 300,000 years ago. However, his methods were criticized, and many scientists did not agree with his conclusions. To this day, no scientific research has confirmed the authenticity of the Ica stones, but interest in them does not wane. Some researchers even suspect that these stones could be part of a broader scheme to create forgeries to attract tourists to the region.
As a result, the Ica stones remain at the center of disputes between their proponents and opponents, highlighting how easily history and archaeology can be manipulated.
There are even theories that these stones could be part of ancient rituals or religious beliefs, although this remains unproven.
Today, the Ica stones continue to attract the attention of both scientists and ordinary people, becoming a symbol of the discrepancies between scientific data and the human desire to understand our past.
There are numerous museums where these stones are exhibited, and every year thousands of tourists strive to see them with their own eyes. This has made the Ica stones not only objects of scientific research but also an important part of Peru's cultural heritage. Rongorongo is a writing system discovered on Easter Island, which remains undeciphered and may be the only known independent writing system invented in Oceania. The first references to Rongorongo date back to the 19th century when European explorers began visiting the island. In 1832, French missionary Eugène Hérault noticed wooden tablets with unfamiliar symbols among the local inhabitants. These tablets, covered with clay or carved signs, are believed by scholars to represent a form of writing. Today, around 24 different Rongorongo tablets are known, none of which contain a complete text, significantly complicating the decipherment process. The symbols on them vary from human and animal images to abstract forms, and each tablet can contain up to several hundred signs. The most famous examples of Rongorongo were found on tablets such as the Kingsbury tablet, which was brought to Britain in the 1840s and is now housed in the British Museum. Other examples include the Superb tablet and the Leader tablet, which are also in European museums. Unlike other known writing systems, such as hieroglyphs or cuneiform, Rongorongo lacks known parallels, which has sparked interest and amazement among linguists and historians. Scientific research on Rongorongo has been active since the 19th century, but no method has led to a successful decipherment. An important aspect is that Rongorongo could be both logographic and syllabic, but there are no definitive proofs to confirm this hypothesis.
In 1968, linguist Cecilia Lim proposed that Rongorongo might be related to astronomical observations, but this hypothesis was not confirmed. Some researchers suggest that Rongorongo could have developed in isolation, explaining its uniqueness. Easter Island, or Rapa Nui, is located in the southeastern part of the Pacific Ocean, and its population has significantly decreased due to European contact and subsequent diseases, which may have led to the loss of knowledge about Rongorongo. Modern technologies such as image processing and data analysis offer hope that this mysterious writing system may be deciphered in the future.
However, as of now, Rongorongo remains one of the most intriguing and undeciphered artifacts of human history. Scientific research continues, and each new discovery adds new layers to our understanding of this ancient writing system.
Nevertheless, the lack of a unified approach and consensus among researchers has led to numerous theories, none of which have been definitively proven. The number of known Rongorongo symbols exceeds 200, and their study is a subject of active debate among scholars about how to interpret them and what ideas they might convey. Some symbols may represent not just letters but entire concepts, further complicating the decipherment task.
A crucial fact is that Rongorongo was likely used for ritual purposes, as evidenced by its discovery in sanctuaries and other culturally significant places. As a result, Rongorongo becomes not just an object of interest for linguists but also a significant cultural artifact reflecting the unique history of the Rapa Nui people. The Pumapunku complex is located in Bolivia, near the city of Tiwanaku, and is one of the most enigmatic archaeological discoveries in South America. This complex was part of a larger civilization, Tiwanaku, which existed from around the 6th to the 11th century AD. The construction of Pumapunku is distinguished by the highest precision in the processing of stone blocks. For example, blocks used in the structures can reach sizes of up to 7 meters in length and weigh more than 100 tons. Their weight and size cast doubt on the assumption that ancient peoples could use primitive tools for such fine work.
The surfaces of these blocks exhibit perfectly flat planes and angles, as well as clear joints that almost do not leave gaps, indicating a high level of engineering skill. Research shows that technologies used to create such stone structures may have been based on sound vibrations, which could explain the precision.
However, despite many theories, the exact origin and technologies used for the construction of Pumapunku remain a subject of heated debate among archaeologists and historians.
In the 20th century, the complex became the subject of study for scholars like Arthur Poznański, who began systematic excavations there in the 1930s.
He discovered numerous artifacts, including stone tools and weapons, which confirm that active construction and habitation took place there. Pumapunku is also notable for its location. It is situated at an altitude of around 13,000 meters above sea level, adding complexity to the understanding of the logistics of its construction. Ancient builders likely used local stone sources, but how they transported such massive blocks, given the mountainous terrain, remains a mystery. Some researchers suggest that blocks could have been moved on specially created wooden rollers or with the help of a system of ropes and sliding surfaces.
Additionally, archaeologists have found that some stones have cone and square-shaped indentations, which may indicate the use of complex engineering solutions.
These architectural elements may have been used to connect blocks, creating strong and stable structures.
Pumapunku also challenges traditional views on the development of civilizations in America, as its architectural achievements clearly surpass the level of technology assumed for that period.
For instance, some researchers believe that such structures could only have been created by a highly advanced civilization with knowledge in astronomy and mathematics.
Notably, around Pumapunku are other important archaeological sites, such as the Temple of the Sun and the Temple of the Moon, which also testify to the high level of cultural and technological development of the Tiwanaku civilization. No less interesting is the fact that in Pumapunku, traces of multi-level construction have been found, indicating a complex social organization. Ultimately, the mystery of Pumapunku continues to attract the attention of both scholars and history enthusiasts, with each new researcher trying to unravel the secrets of this ancient complex. For example, in 2020, a group of scientists led by Dr.
Jose A. Benavides conducted a new study focusing on the analysis of the composition of stones found on the complex's territory. They found that some of the stones have unusual crystalline structures, which may indicate their unique origin or the use of specific technologies in the construction process. Archaeology is not just a science, it is a real treasure hunt where each discovered artifact can change our understanding of the past.
For instance, in 2015 in Jordan, archaeologists found the remains of an ancient city that existed more than 4,000 years ago and was presumably a center of trade and crafts.
This discovery cast doubt on existing theories about how ancient civilizations developed on the Near East. In 2018 in Peru, archaeologists discovered the remains of more than 800 human sacrifices, indicating practices that were previously only conjectured.
This discovery was a shock to historians as it confirmed the existence of rituals that were thought to be myths. In 2019 in Egypt, over 300 tombs, dating back almost 3,000 years, were found.
These discoveries allowed for a more precise chronology of the pharaohs' reigns and their role in building the Great Pyramids. In essence, each discovery adds a new layer to our understanding of how our ancestors lived.
For example, in 2020 in China, tools dating back more than 7,000 years were discovered, indicating the early development of agriculture in this region.
This discovery suggests that the Chinese civilization could have developed in parallel with other great cultures, such as Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt.
In 2000 in Mexico, archaeologists found the remains of an ancient city that was estimated to have been inhabited by more than 100,000 people, challenging the notion that civilizations in this region were small and less developed. Research showed that these people built complex water supply systems and had a developed social structure. No less impressive is the discovery in 2021 in Turkey, where a group of archaeologists led by Dr.
Alice Toprak found a Neolithic village that is over 10,000 years old. This discovery changed our understanding of human migration across Europe and Asia, as it indicates that people could settle in one place much earlier than previously thought. Archaeology as a science continues to present us with new mysteries. For example, it is still unclear how ancient people were able to build such monumental structures as Stonehenge, which was erected around 5,000 years ago.
Research shows that technologies used for its construction were considered impossible at the time.
In 2020 in Norway, prehistoric stone tools dating back more than 30,000 years were found, which also changes our understanding of human migration in northern Europe. These discoveries raise many questions about how people adapted to cold climatic conditions.
In conclusion, each new discovery in archaeology does not just enrich our understanding of the past but also raises new questions that scientists continue to seek answers to.
The unsolved mysteries of the past can lead to amazing discoveries that change our understanding of human history.
For example, in 2020 in Sudan, over 100 pyramids were found, which are significantly older than Egyptian pyramids, challenging our understanding of who and when began building such structures. Each of these discoveries is a key to understanding our place in history.